Okay. Oh, we're live. I think we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Yes, you come on in. Um, Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so excited. This is the final episode of Mom-Versations, at least of 2020. We will be coming back in 2021, but thank you for joining the Mom-Versations of 2020. Today, as always, am excited to interview and talk with the guest that we have on tonight. Hey, Eric Chin, the one who set us up. The wonderful guest that I have on tonight is really going to be a part of facilitating and really kind of gathering just a discussion. Today, I think, is a very important topic. Yes, we're going to talk about parenting and mothering, but I really wanted to end the year talking about self-care, which is why I brought on my new friend, Charissa Pomrehn, and she is going to talk about self-care. What does self-care look like in the holiday season that we're upon right now? What does self-care look like as we are in the second/third round of the pandemic, and some people are kind of losing their motivation and figuring out, God, I don't know if I can do this again. And as we'll end the conversation, really talking about the discussion of what it look like. How do you take care of yourself when this is what is has really become kind of a popular term right now of a blue Christmas, when you are one of those people who is experiencing loss right now, experiencing loss of a loved one, maybe of a relationship, of an opportunity, just loss, feeling maybe your career has taken a loss at this point. So there's a lot of people who are hurting right now. So we wanted to create this space, or I wanted to create this space in Mom-Versations to not only let you know that you are seen, that you are loved, that people are thinking about you, but also to maybe think of some tips and give you some tips of how to take care of yourself during this time. I want this to be an open discussion. So if you also have been going through this, maybe through the quarantine, and you have gathered some tips yourself of how to help others, please join the discussion. Please drop it in the chat here, and we will acknowledge you and speak out some of the tips that you've come up with. So this can be more of a discussion instead of just us talking at you. But here we go. I'm going to tell you about my guest today. Charissa is a Seattle native and fourth-generation Japanese American. She is a sought-after speaker who's brought self-care training to families of color, Seattle, Asian counseling and referral services, and MOPS, mothers of preschoolers. She has coached parents with nonstop responsibilities who just need a break. How many is that? That's all of us. She helps them make time for themselves, do things they love, and handle hard situations with confidence so they can become the kind of person they've always wanted to be. Though her primary work is with moms of young children, Charissa's expertise can benefit anyone who's wondered how they're supposed to do all the things, especially during a global pandemic. So, right now, I want to bring on my guest. I have her website right here at the bottom, braveselfcare.com. She'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'm going to bring her on so she can talk about herself, but also help us in this discussion about self-care. So here we go. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Charissa. Welcome back. Yes, we had her earlier in this season this year. And I just wanted to bring her back because she has such great knowledge and such a fun person to talk to about it. So welcome. How are you feeling in this holiday season?
I'm trying to keep my cool, to be honest. So this is a wonderful topic because it's helped me to reflect on, what are the things that I'm doing to take care of myself, and what would I most want to impart to your guests and viewers.
Great. Yay. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing your expertise and just sharing your heart and your voice for my audience and even those who are just happen to be listening. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
To Mom-Versations. So we're going to start right off from the top again. why don't you, and I told them a little bit about yourself. Why don't you tell us, who are you? Tell us about your family, and where did the idea for Brave Self-Care come from?
Well, as you said, I'm Charissa Pomrehn. I'm a self-care coach primarily for moms. I'm a mom myself of three boys. They are now 2, 8, and 12. And after coming from a family with lots of girl cousins and a sister, that was quite a surprise. And the idea for Brave Self Care really came out of my own experience. I became a mom pretty soon after getting married in my mid 20s. And really, all of our peers were just starting their careers, maybe barely dating. And to be a mom in that circumstance was super unfamiliar and felt extremely isolating. And I think without a lot of role models around, I really went into this martyr syndrome of the baby needs to come first and my needs come last. And it was just such this isolating time where I was not taking care of myself and I wasn't finding joy in the things, in the ways that I was created, and wasn't really prioritizing those things. So really from that hard experience, because I had to learn that, it didn't come natural. That's really my heart now, to help parents and moms put themselves on that priority list and find those things that light them up, because that is going to bring so much life to themselves, to their families. And I know there's something unique in them that the world needs, that's not going to come out unless they are recharged and ready to go.
You do awesome work. I mean, that is so important. As we are, as you said, sometimes it does feel like it's a martyr syndrome. It's like, oh, everybody before me. And it's not even to be funny, but it really is. Like, I mean, I know maybe you just like me, like it is my heart's passion to raise an amazing adult. So it is easy to do, even if you're not attempting to become that martyr. But it's just like, but I want the best for my kids. I want the best for them. So
Yes.
you are the last priority. Yes. 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 Well, great. Well, so that's your, well, tell us about your, where does even the name Brave Self-Care come from?
When I first had the opportunity to be a life coaching client, I was really surprised that as I shared my heart and what I really wanted to go for in life and made these practical action steps and took them, I felt brave. And that is not a word that I would have described myself as at the time. I really associated with like superheroes and like characters in my son's TV shows. But I felt brave because I was kind of growing on the edge of who I knew how to be, and I was becoming somebody new. And I think for folks who have not been putting themselves on that priority list, it can feel brave and a bit scary to say I'm going to put myself first in this way, because there's so much telling us that we're only valuable in how much we give to others. So that in and of itself is an act of bravery.
Ooh, that's good. It takes courage. Ooh, it's got to have bravery to actually take care of yourself. Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, what would you say, what does a typical day in the life of a self-care coach look like that? What does that look like in kind of in the context of what you do have to do, the
Yes,
responsibility you do have as a mother, as a parent, as a wife?
yes. I would say there is no typical day, but in a week, I really try to serve my audience by writing one newsletter a week that's really going to encourage and inspire and give some practical tips to my readers. So if you're curious, you can sign up at braveselfcare.com. There's a place to drop your name, email address. And I work with maybe 1 to 3 clients a week. We have private Zoom calls where they are sharing, just like I talked about my action steps, they get to report on first. So this is how the last 2 weeks went. I know I committed to X, Y, and Z, and we celebrate anything that went well. We debrief anything that went sideways. And I think we can be really hard on ourselves and feel a big sense of failure or shame when we don't do the things that we set out to do. But there are always, always lessons to be learned. So helping my clients see, oh, you learned something through that. And then I'm producing content for social media. I'm on Instagram a lot, wanting to encourage and support women there. And then, of course, in all of that, we have 3 kids. So 2 of them are doing distance learning. One of them is a toddler. And we're very lucky that my parents take each boy once a week. But otherwise, I mean, they're around. Life is all happening. So all my business stuff is happening during nap time, in the in-between time, after kids go to bed.
That's so awesome. Yay, man. Yay for, let's give a shout out to all those grandparents, all the people who come around families and provide support, whether that's grandparents, aunties, uncles, friends, neighbor down the street, I don't know, healthcare worker, all those people. We appreciate you. Yes, 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 yes. For those typical mundane days where they come and help out, and the days when they're not there, but you kind of have to do it yourself. That's beautiful though. Yes. So you're in the headway of distance learning. How have you, for those parents who are in the middle of distance learning, how have you handled that? How have you learned to take care of yourself? What are some of the tips that you have with that?
Well, we have this year a 6th grader and a 3rd grader. And over the spring, schools were really scrambling to figure out what to do. They had pretty minimal schooling, but I found even though it was just a little bit, I was always hovering over their shoulders, making sure that they were on task and seeing what was happening on the screen. And do you know what? That was not restful for them or for me. That was stressful for all involved. And so I read something before the school year started that was just like, of course this is age dependent, but let your child be in their classroom and relate to their teacher. And if there's behavior things, trust that your teacher and your child are going to work that out. And of course, if you're observing things, you have concerns or questions, you can ask them. But that really helped me to let go of that hovering energy, being self-conscious of maybe how my child is interacting or being perceived by their teacher, and really trust. Yeah, if it's for a normal school year, I would not be peeking over their shoulder at their desk in their classroom, and trust them and trust their teacher that they are going to figure it out.
Trusting. Ooh, trusting a 6th grader, trusting a 3rd grader. How does that even work? And I'm gonna ask you, Charissa, pull out your ears for a minute. We're gonna do a quick sound, actually pull it from your computer.
Oh, got it.
Okay, talk now.
Hello.
Okay, keep going.
Hello. Is testing. Is this any better?
Okay.
Trying on the fly.
We're trying on the fly, everybody. Sorry, we have some sound some sound issues. Okay, let's go with that for a minute.
Okay.
So in the place that you are dealing with kids who you're trying to trust, or even learning, maybe that's their first step in this process of like, they're going to take your idea and go, okay, let me see if I can trust my 6th grader. What does that entail?
Ooh, well, for me, it really, because I was in that over-involved hovering place, it meant letting go and letting them kind of be in class on their own, or thinking about ways to help your child be more independent. We have like a Google Home, or I don't know, some people use Alexa. You can set alarms, or if your child has a watch, they can set alarms to help themselves know when to start class. Just anywhere that you can start to back away from your involvement, if it feels like too much, that is, and think about what are the tools that my child has available to them that will help them not need me so much and be responsible for their own learning. Something that my 2nd grade teacher taught me so long ago was the difference between student managed and teacher managed behavior. Ooh. And that came back to me because I won't name who, but one of my kids was on YouTube a lot during class. And, at first we were just like, hey, get off of that. Stop doing that. That's not, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. I realized that more than not being on YouTube, what we're really trying to instill is student managed behavior, right? So more just the external behavior. a character trait of somebody who realizes all my learning and my posture in this class is up to me. And so kind of talking about that with that child, and he got super motivated. He made his own like sticker chart and wanted prizes, of course. But I'm proud and happy to say that child is no longer on YouTube and is, I think, like, yeah, kind of gotten that concept of, oh, I'm in charge of myself. And it's tough though, right? They're on a web browser for their class. It's like
right.
their fingertips. So lots of opportunities for learning and character building for sure.
Wow. So, that could go with, well, maybe not any age, but students. So it's student management versus parent or teacher management. So really teaching your child to manage themselves. But then rewards are in there. Is that what it is? Rewards help motivate, or at least to start the motivation process.
Yeah, we thought about what this kid is particularly motivated by, which is screen time. And just framing that as like, you know what, that's actually a privilege. And so we want you to have that privilege, but there are some expectations we have of you during school. And yeah, just making that really clear and providing lots of positive affirmation as we saw growth and sympathy, right? Like we're all multitasking. We're all kind of like on our phones or like opening up another browser tab here and there. So just relating to that really human impulse that when things are boring or not super engaging, to find something else fun to do.
That's good. Well, that goes with my question. My next question, how do you, even in talking about self-care, how are you bringing that and teaching that to your children, where you have different ages, but it is kind of a concept that not only adults and mothers and all of us need, but our kids are somewhat suffering during this time. How are you teaching? Maybe are you using the word self-care, or what does that look like in even different age appropriate things?
Right. I haven't actually been using that phrase, but one aspect of my self-care that's really important that we've brought the kids along into, especially during this time, is being out in nature and realizing that a love for the outdoors and access to the outdoors doesn't mean that you need to go to a campsite in a remote place and drive hours, but it can literally just getting out the door, being under the sky, which in Seattle is often gray, but you get to enjoy a lot more blue skies, just being outside with not a roof over your head, seeing leaves and trees and growing things is so good for the soul. It's great for the body. So we're just taking lots of walks. It's maybe getting repetitive for them at this point, but we're just making sure, especially because they can so easily be tied to their laptops all day, that they're getting out, that they're resting their eyes, that they're moving and getting exercise.
Yeah. Does it are you teaching your toddler? Do you teach in words? Like, what does that look like of teaching how to take care of a little one, or versus a sixth grade?
Yeah. I think with the little one, a lot of the self-care is kind of teaching maybe emotional regulation and naming feelings, which I think is a lesson that we as adults are still trying to figure out. Like, oh, I feel what do I feel? The pandemic, right? Or especially around the holidays, I feel sad. I feel angry. Sometimes those what we sometimes think of as negative emotions are hard to name and hard to recognize that we are feeling those things. So for our toddler, just instead of always distracting or being like, cheer up or stop crying, just even to say like, you're really mad right now, you're really sad right now, you're really frustrated, and letting them, I think that analogy of we can't take our child out of a certain emotion, but like a train tunnel, they actually have to go through the train tunnel of that tough emotion to come out on the other side into the light again. And that's just been a great metaphor for me as well. Like I can't Instagram scroll my way out of a bad feeling. Will it?
Wouldn't that be great if we could?
I know.
Right, I feel better.
Yeah, totally right. And it's not to say I don't try.
Right.
I try. Actually, recognize what I'm feeling and feel that feeling, and I'm gonna get through it. It's not gonna last forever.
Ooh, that's good. I mean, that kind of goes with the question of at every age, every stage of whatever child you have, teaching them how to manage and or name their emotions. You're right. Someone gave me a emotions. I took this class on trauma and they just passed us out all these different emotions because we just have mad, sad, glad. What there might be angry in there, but then there's like so many different colors of emotions, and being able to even identify can sometimes help. Oh, wow, that's what I'm actually feeling instead of angry. No, actually, you might be disappointed. Angry. No, actually, you might be grieving something, a loss of something. So, yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's good. Well, you started talking about the holidays, kind of what I think some people might be on here talking about. How does, I mean, we'll get to the pandemic part, but even as we're approaching the holidays, Christmas is about 2 weeks away, and Christmas doesn't, I read somebody's post today, Christmas just does not look at all like Christmas has looked for most families. Christmas just does not look, and some people I know, our family, myself, I love me some Christmas. So I know some people, just that in itself, Christmas doesn't look like it does anymore. So there really is a lot of sadness around that. What do we do with that sadness?
That's a great question. I just going back to that train tunnel analogy, I think we often are afraid to feel hard feelings because we're afraid it's going to overtake us or we're just going to get stuck there. But recognizing like, oh, if I don't let myself feel this, it's going to somehow be, it will not be expressed and it will not be out of my system, out of my body, out of my spirit. So maybe even, talking to a friend, I'm feeling really sad about XYZ, naming that. If you're feeling like that feeling might overwhelm you, even like setting a timer to maybe journal out. This year, I'm really missing gathering with my family, doing this plane ride, going to the mall and seeing the Christmas train with my kids. Whatever it is that comes to mind, whether big or, sometimes we think, oh, it's so trivial. Shouldn't I be more grown up and mature and not bummed out about this thing, this holiday treat I'm going to miss that my grandma makes? Just, journal it out. And if that seems intimidating, could you do that for 5 minutes? Could you do that for 10 minutes, And just that is a starting place to release some of that sadness and name some of it.
Yes, I love it. Get your journals out. I go and buy me a pretty journal every start of the year. Something pretty journal and pins, special pins. Yeah. So I can just, not that I journal every day because I forget, but I got me a pretty journal. When I do pick it up, it's pretty. Love that. That's big. Yeah, we have to feel those emotions. What have you seen even in some of your clients where they have not taken the time to feel? What's the alternative if you do end up just going, well, I'll just pass. I'm all right.
What I've seen in clients and in myself is that those feelings will leak out sideways.
Ooh.
Maybe it will look like extreme lack of motivation to do certain things. Maybe it will come out as resentment towards somebody else, or not being able to be happy for other people who have things that you think you should have, or that you're.
Let's stop right there. Because you hit the nail on the head with that one, because we are in a pandemic and some people are flourishing. Some people are flourishing and they're posting it. And I know I sometimes be like, again, you're winning. You're winning again. Those are some real feelings. And it might be, wow, I didn't even think about, might be some of my push down feelings of like, I am sad. This is not working. I'm not able to sing right now or whatever. That's big. That's big, Charissa. Wow. Say that again for those in the back. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, that's great. And I think it, depending on your spiritual background, I have a Christian background, and I was taught that when we have a strong emotion, there's probably something that God, or who I would call God, wants to speak to you. There's some lesson, there's something to pay attention to when we have a strong emotion, whether that's jealousy, anger, whatever it is that's coming out around these blue holidays. There's something to pay attention to that maybe is a desire that's not fulfilled. Maybe it's a dream that we haven't really dared to name yet. Anyways, just that that's significant.
That's some good stuff. And that goes back to the journaling. Spending some time to actually write it out or talk it out with someone or therapy or whatever it looks like, a life coach, a self-care coach with Charissa. Wow, you're saying some good stuff on today. You're saying some good stuff. Well, that goes with, so we talked about the holidays as we're going in, at least California, into our whatever third hunkering down even more, where we are, really back in lockdown, almost back to where we started, because people refuse to wear masks. They're just refusing to do all kind of things. So as our numbers are going up and the ICUs are at full capacity, I mean, it feels like going back to what you said a little earlier, like how can we not lose motivation? How can we not have a lack of motivation? Because you're like, okay, I know myself at the start of this pandemic, I was like, yeah, I'm working out. Okay, I'm using all this time, I'm writing songs. And then you're like, okay, wait a minute, this is 1-5. Okay, we're coming out a little bit. Okay, yay, we get to do somewhat a regular thing. Oh, but now everything's closed again. Now you can't do anything again. Okay, now you can't even meet with your family for Christmas. What are some tips on staying motivated? That word in itself, motivation, where you might have had the motivation and it's going up and down. What can we do in that?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that comes to mind when you talk about the restrictions going back into effect is I think we can lose motivation when we feel deprived and when we feel there's a lack of options. And if you can look for where you feel a sense of freedom and spaciousness and lean into those things, I think that can sometimes help us be motivated to continue and to persevere when we're being asked to do a really hard thing and really think social distancing is really against human nature, right? We are made to connect with others. So, maybe that's being in the outdoors and walking. Maybe that's being in a really, remote place, or walking at a time of day that you can have your mask down, and except for, when you pass by someone, you put your mask up, but you have a sense of freedom or normalcy in that. Maybe it's, visiting with somebody from their driveway and they're like up at their front door, but it just gives you that sense of richness or freedom or normalcy, I guess, that you can kind of lean into even when there's so many things that are no-nos and we can't do them right now. Focusing on what we can do, I think, can bring motivation to keep going and doing these hard things.
That's great. That's great. I don't know if you have, I've seen some research on the heaviness, the exhaustion, and the fatigue that Zooming does. Zooming and just being all on our electronics all the time. So even what you're talking about of getting outdoors, just out my front door in itself is like key. It's key. I know I have to remind myself that, but you're just saying some really, really great things. Getting outdoors. I mean, just that example of sitting in somebody's driveway and talking to them on the phone or talking to them out the door. I mean, yes, the things that you can do. Thank you for sharing those. And as I said, for those who are just coming on, if you have a question, you can feel free to put in the chat, or you have your own tips of how you're surviving or how you're thriving in the midst of the pandemic, or as you're preparing for your holidays, please share them with us so we can acknowledge you and see what we are, kind of becomes a discussion. But what are some of the things that you guys are doing? The Pomrehn household, what are you guys, maybe some of your traditions aren't able to be done this year, but what does your holidays look like? How are you Are you pivoting or what? How are you guys celebrating?
Yes. Okay, here are some of the pivots for 2020 that we're taking. I guess the new thing is that my son has been learning violin from my mom over video call. And so they're working on some Christmas music. And my husband is actually learning the piano part. And I think there's some plans. I'm not directly involved, but I'm just hearing maybe of some plans to either make a video recording or somehow play and share that music together. What are some of the other things? Oh, we normally with my dad's side of the family would do a gift exchange, and being in person together, is so important. We do a Christmas brunch. That is not happening. But my sister is actually still arranging the gift exchange, and we're going to open the presents, and there's a whole guessing game that's going to happen on Zoom instead of in my aunt and uncle's living room. So just some changes like that. Some Christmas advice that I thought was so helpful. There's a parenting coach I follow named Mary Van Geffen. And she said, in this season, interview every person in your household and ask them, what is something that you look forward to in this season? And then just focus on those things unless you truly alone want to make the other things that people didn't name happen on your own. Like maybe no one says holiday cards. So you don't have to do them unless they're really important to you and it's fine with you that you're the only person doing them. I thought that was so freeing because that allows us to really focus on what's most important. And when I asked my older boys, they said what they look forward to most is being with family, being with extended family. And it just made me realize I've been stressing about gifts and outings and gingerbread house, and that's not, I mean, we can do those things. Those are nice extras, but focusing on, is there a way to see my parents safely and, open some presents with them outside? Can we make sure that our boys get on that Zoom call to open Secret Santa gifts? That's what they're looking forward to.
I love that. I love that idea of asking people what do you actually want? What do you actually enjoy about this time? That's beautiful, man. And I love the violin. I mean, he's learning violin from his grandparent. That must be great bonding time that he has. He'll never forget those moments. So that's awesome. So put in the chat again, how are you guys pivoting? I have not even thought. I've been for those who need to be seen, my August to about this week has been so busy, has been on nothing but nonstop Zoom calls. So I haven't even thought about what are we doing? I just don't even know. So for those who have not thought about it, hey, I'm with you. But I know I need to, I have, gotten a few gifts from online, Amazon has become the space to get stuff, but I want to lean into, what does it look like to buy locally online, or what does it look like to buy locally or from small businesses online? So, we have one small business owner here, braveselfcare.com. If you want to purchase self-care coaching from Charissa, you are definitely able to go to braveselfcare.com. But and if you are a small business, I have vocal coaching if people want to do that. But support and think about it. Chris has given some great ideas of how you can pivot. And I think that's the really big thing in this time. What I've learned as an artist, as a singer, we have had nothing to do but to pivot. You have to learn to pivot and turn. And there might be, as Chris has talked about, yes, give space for, I'm sad, I'm mad about this, I am whatever the emotion is, and there has to be a time where we have to go, okay, now how am I going to support myself? Where it's just the reality kicks in. So man, that's some good stuff. So we're going to go to our, I wanted to end the discussion or really talk about the last part of our discussion is really how, for those who, I kind of started this conversation with acknowledging youth, for those who are experiencing loss in this season, some, this is their first Christmas without their mom or their dad. And I know that's huge, or without grandparents or without husbands, without brothers and sisters. I know a friend has lost her twin brother, which as a twin, I'm like, oh, can't even imagine what that pain is like. So, but not only the loss of life, but some have lost jobs, some have lost opportunities for those artists out there, those singers and directors and people in entertainment who some stuff is starting back up, but has not fully regained their employment. Like there's been so much loss in this time. So we just want to say, one, we see you, we hear you, and we care. We care that you are experiencing this, that you are in deep, dark sadness, maybe that you haven't ever experienced before. And at the same time, coming upon maybe some of your favorite holiday, like Christmas is my favorite holiday. So how, Charissa, how can people deal with a blue Christmas? That's like two oxymorons, like where you are literally dealing with somewhat of a depression because of your circumstances. How do we, what does grieving look like? What are some tips that you've even seen with your clients or even in your own family?
Yeah. Well, for everyone who's watching this, when we were planning this time, Rita just was like, I really want people to feel seen in this time. And so just so you know, her heart and our heart, I think that's a beautiful goal of this time. I think giving yourself a permission slip to feel however you're feeling and to celebrate or to be in this season however you want to be and celebrate in this season. That sounds so simple, but the holidays come prepackaged with so many laden expectations that we have of ourselves, that our families have of us, that society has of us, that we need to get the right gifts, that we need to get the beautiful environment, that we need to provide joy and cheer and be happy because it's the most wonderful time of the year. So I think just recognizing, whoa, there's a lot of expectation on this time. That's even without going through a grief or a time of grief or experiencing a significant loss, like the mention. So just giving yourself, just recognizing, okay, there's a lot of shoulds probably floating around in our minds and that the media's telling us, and your holiday and your experience of the next few weeks are your own.
Yeah.
And there's no particular way that it needs to look. I know sometimes when an exercise that's helpful is thinking about, how do I want to feel, let's say, by the end of December with Christmas behind me. And then what will be some things that I can put into my life to support that feeling or to encourage that feeling. Maybe you're super lonely and you're like, I want to be on the other side of Christmas and to feel connection or connected. So who are the people that make you feel connected? Can you reach out to them? Even if you haven't done that, or even if you feel like, oh, they must be busy with doing their own Christmas stuff. How can you support the way that you want to feel on the other side of Christmas?
That's good. I mean, I think that goes back to what you're talking about before of this martyr syndrome. I think in loss, especially with significant loss, maybe some people are feeling like, I don't want to be the widow. I don't want to be the person who has lost their job and I need help. Like, how have you found, even with your own clientele, how have they seen getting past that? I don't want to be the one asking for help. And they might just choose to sit in a home by themselves and be like, I'm just not going to ask for help. But maybe that's one of the worst things to do, because then it furthers feeling alone. But how can a person get past that feeling of needing others? Maybe they've been the person who's always helped others, and now they're in the space of needing others, but they don't know how to need others because they've always been the one who other people need. How do you say to them?
Well, I would ask them, what would it What would that mean for you if you were actually the one that needed to ask for help? I think we feel a lot of resistance to that, but we don't go that one level deeper of like, what does this say about me if I need to be the person that's saying like, hey, I don't know, is there a way that we could collaborate on a Christmas meal? Or hey, I actually need someone to check in on me in a couple of days because I'm just feeling really down. And I think what a lot of people find is that they have really equated either having no needs or being the one that always helps others as what gives them value. And it feels really scary to realize your value doesn't come from being the always reliable friend or always reliable family member. Your value doesn't come from never having any needs and not making waves. You are fully loved and accepted and valued, even when you're needy, even when you have to ask for help. And I know that takes swallowing pride, but it can be such a freeing experiment to try and then to realize like, yeah, I'm still loved and I'm still valuable, even though I feel like I'm the person who needs more and needs to ask for help.
Oh my God. You about to make me cry. That's some hard work right there. Cause you have your value. We're gonna say that again for those in the back. You have not lost value or any bit of worth because you're the person who is in need this time. You are no less worthy. You have no less value because you're needy right now. I think our our society in itself says to us, you need to work, be productive, be productive, be productive. You help. You're the person who's the Mother Teresa, but Mother Teresa needs help sometimes. Like we can't. Somewhere there's a brick wall where work, or production just does not work all the time. And here we are in the pandemic where some people, there is no work, period. There is no work right now. And so, circumstances say I'm in need, but it does not, again, for the people in the back, it does not have anything to do with your worth. You are still worthy. You are still deeply loved. You still have significance. Wow, that was powerful. That's powerful, Charissa. Woo, that's powerful. Well, let's talk about joy. I mean, I know we both come from a Christian faith, and joy is a specific thing in our faith. How can people, is joy, I know happiness is something you can drum up. How can people who, if they said at the end of December, I just want joy, I just want peace, I just want joy, I want to experience joy in January. How can someone, what is self-care? What are some tips that you can give us to, even if that's someone's goal, I just want to experience joy again?
Yes. I think joy can be so specific to each person and what sparks joy for them. And often looking to the past can be a great indicator to help us look for clues of what brings me joy, what puts me in a joyful place, what kind of people do I need in my life, what kind of circumstances, what do I actually need to say no to? So maybe like, what is actually stealing my joy? What are things that are robbing my sense of peace and well-being?
Yeah.
That I can actually cut out for this time. I mean, this is, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but for me, things like overwhelm and clutter steal my joy. And there are, services. Let's see, I thought of a couple, like there's a service called unroll.me, M-E, and it can show you all your bazillion of email subscriptions, because I think we're just bombarded and just treated like consumers during this time. And it helps you with, it's seeing everything in one place. You can unsubscribe from a lot of stuff and cut things that don't bring joy out of your life. Same with like paper clutter. We moved into this house and the previous owners didn't cancel their subscriptions to a lot of things. And so we got tons of catalogs for things that we didn't need. So there's a service called Paper Karma that lets you just take a picture of the address on the catalog, and it will, again, unsubscribe you. So, I mean, these are super practical things, but like cutting out what doesn't bring joy and then thinking to yourself, when was the last time I felt happy? And what are the creative ways that I can tap into that despite the pandemic, despite our limitations? Again, focusing on what you can do and what you do have versus what you can't do and what you don't have.
Man, some practical but very life-giving tips. Man. Oh my goodness. We're going to say that again. Unroll.me, is that what it is? And paperkarma.com. Check those things out because I know I got a paper problem and I know I got a daggone subscription problem. I feel that's why I tell the people, do you want, every store you go to, do you want to enroll for our email thing? I'm like, no, no. I don't want to. No, please. But they're like, well, you're going to get 20% off there. You're going to get to the... No, leave me alone. Or get it and unsubscribe when you get home. Man, there's so many things. That's practical. Man, well, Charissa, we talked about some good stuff on today. I think it's a great way to end. Again, I was very purposeful. I wanted to, we've had amazing guests and I mean, people from all kinds of different fields and industries, but I wanted to purposefully end this year and this episode, this round of interviews with talking with Charissa to really talk about self-care. How do we take care of ourselves? And I know it's such a buzzword. It's such a buzzword right now, self-care. And it's like, oh, candles and bathtubs and getting your nails done. But hopefully you guys have heard some real life practical things that you can do in facing Blue Christmases, in facing grief and loss and death and loss of jobs and even just in distance learning and another round of hunkering down and closing off again of California and just seeing all the lines to get COVID tests. And I mean, the lines to get in grocery stores again. I mean, all of that causes so much stress in our bodies and we don't even know it's there. And how do we unpack those things? And I hope that, man, Charissa has given some really good tips today. If you, again, have not, please follow her here on braveselfcare.com. She's got sign up for her 3 self-care hacks to make everyday life feel amazing. I get her, is it weekly? You do weekly blasts?
Yeah, I try to do weekly.
She does weekly blasts, but they're not like 10 pages long. I appreciate that she highlights things. So if you only got a minute, you can go, oh, hey, there's a nugget. So I appreciate that it's not long. You can actually read through it in one sitting and get you some tips and get out. So sign up for Charissa's, go to her website, sign up for these self-care hacks, but she has weekly tips that she gives out. So it's really helpful reading helps me to feel seen. Like, wow, somebody's saying my exact feelings. Sometimes you can't even, as we talked about, put words on how you're feeling, but sometimes it takes reading what someone else has written to go, oh my God, that's my words. That's my words. So as we're coming to an end, Charissa, what would be your take-home message? What would be, if you want to summarize what we talked about, or just something that you have that you want to leave the audience with?
Oh man, I'll share an observation from a past holiday, from Halloween actually. We were not planning to go out trick-or-treating, but my kids just kind of got into the spirit, so we went down the block. And I noticed that, some houses, they have the porch lights off, they're not participating, and that's fine. And other houses, it just seemed like they went all out. They really went in because just of the anticipation and fun of something to look forward to. So they had strung up candy on clotheslines. They made a candy shoot. Some people went all out. And it just showed me that, there's so many different ways to approach the holidays. And if you need to take a step back, maybe you usually go all out and you're like, I just don't have it in me this holiday. You can take a step back and still have that be fully meaningful. to you. And maybe there's just one or two things that you're like, we're really going to focus on these two things. Or maybe you are really in need of joy and stepping into the fullness of everything, maybe being extra with your decorations or you're blasting Christmas music, like the neighbors that went all out for Halloween. Maybe you just really need that. You need something to look forward to, and you're going to step it up just for the fun of it. I guess my takeaway is just let Christmas look however it needs to look for you, and know that it's fine. It's fine if it doesn't look like past holidays, as long as you're able to find some peace and joy in your choices.
Yes. Turn out that light. If you don't, you ain't got it this year. Turn the light out. We all will understand. Or if you need to be Harriet, whatever, and you got to decorate everything, get out there and decorate everything. Put glitter and gold on everything. Man, I love that. Oh, Charissa, you have just really helped me. I know you've helped me, and I just pray as people are watching this, that their spirits are uplifted and they feel hope and at least some sense of being seen. I hope that you have some, even if you only get to watch 5 minutes of this, that there's some space where you're like, and my laptop keeps falling. But that you feel seen and you feel like, man, somebody gets me. Yes, you are not going through this by yourself. Maybe we haven't experienced the same losses that you have, or it's not the exact same circumstance, but man, some days are just hard. Some days are just hard. Mommy out there, daddy, parents, some days are just, and you just want to go to sleep. You're like, okay, did we have dinner? Okay, everybody to bed. Like, and that's okay. Bedtime, just time. Let's start again tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a better day. But man, hopefully Charissa has given some tips that really will help you in figuring stuff out.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to make a final plug for the 3 self-care hacks to make everyday life feel amazing. They are pandemic proof. They are applicable whether or not you're stuck in your house with your children. You can use these tips to feel better, to create space for yourself, and just to feel ready to jump back into parent mode whenever that time comes for you, which may be sooner than you want.
Great. And how can people, so it's Brave Self-Care on Instagram, and your website is on Facebook also?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook as well. Yeah.
Great.
BraveSelfCare.com.
Great. Follow. I'm telling you, it really is helpful to get her weekly newsletters and to read her weekly tips, and to see her fun videos, her fun. What'd you say?
Oh, the things I do to spread good news about self-care. I feel like I've been making a fool of myself on videos, but it's been a lot of fun.
It's okay. We're watching them. I know I've seen them. I'm like, yes, that's so cute. I still have not figured out how to do those. I'll have to play with them myself. The reels. What is it? The Instagram reels. Man, yeah. Well, everyone, I think that's how we're going to end our second season of Mom-Versations. I hope that you have enjoyed the process of really getting to hear all of the different moms, and even our one dad that we had on, all the different walks of life. Hopefully learn some just some life lessons and some tools to keep going, keep thriving as a person, keep thriving as a parent, keep thriving in your craft and the purpose which you are going after. And thank you for people like Charissa who have just helped us along the way. What those things look like, how she has lived into her passion of helping other parents and mothers take care of themselves. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Charissa. Again, follow her at braveselfcare.com and go pick up those three free 99 self-care hacks and follow her. All right, everyone. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We will see you in the coming new year with some more interviews of wonderful moms thriving in purpose and in parenthood. Thank you again. We'll see you next year. Happy holidays.
Bye.